Buena familia, it's your favorite Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly, and I'm back out here in the park. I'm doing it in the park. Hmm. Doing it in the dark. Oh yeah. I don't know it, but okay. Um, yeah, and I just wanted to come out here. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, little kids just came out. Um, and I was just gonna pull some cards for myself, but then something said just turn on the camera. So let's see. I already shuffled and pulled the first card, and the first card is the Seven of Pentacles. And as you can see there's this person here who's contemplative, reflective, right? They're sitting there and they're looking at what they have planted, what they have sown, and what they have harvested so far, right? It's interesting now that I look at the card. I didn't notice this before, but out of the Seven Pentacles, these are like in the shade, and there's only like these two bottom ones that are like still receiving sunlight. And even the picture itself, right? He's in front of the sunlight. He doesn't seem too pleased with well, no, now that I look close up, I was gonna say he doesn't seem too pleased, but no, I can't say that. He does seem pretty content about what he's sown so far, but he's I just heard mulling it over, right? Reflective of it. And what I thought about was yeah, I dare say so myself. You know, I'm always hesitant about speaking from like the first person, because you always hear like, well, I've heard, I haven't been in this tarot land for a very long time. I think I started perusing in 2018. And from my limited understanding of, you know, tarot land, it seems to be a no-no to speak of oneself, right? But I don't know how to teach in any other way than to give examples from my own life. I don't know. I don't know how to be more relatable or how to express what I want to come across, what I'm seeing in the pictures, unless I am speaking from a first person, right? I never want to promote or share something that I feel I didn't myself experience or have some kind of firsthand knowledge about. You know what I mean? Yeah, it just doesn't feel comfortable for me. So the spirit is telling me, do it your way. Don't do it the way Tarotland people do it. You know, everything is different. You know, people got to just be who they are. We have to be authentic, right? We keep trying to fit molds. You know, look, my throat wants to lock up. Yeah, it's some BS. I know I don't want to live like that. You know, I lived like that long enough, right? And I'm not trying to get on here and like, you know, run a rant and see, even that, worried about if it's a rant, like all that shit got to go out the window. You know, people have a choice to click off. People have a choice to click on, you know. And then that's another thing, click bait and click on and click off, and, you know, asking people to hit the like, and I need the, what do they call it, the the algorithm to get picked up, and so other people can see it and view it. Call me foolish, but I am of the understanding that the people who are meant to see things will see it, will pick it up when they need to. I don't give a F about whose algorithm. If the energy rhythm is flowing, it's going to flow and go to where it needs to go. And I really do believe that there's true power in authenticity. You know, it took me a long time, a very long time. I mean, struggled both with exterior forces and interior forces to get to a place where I'm like, here. So yeah, I fought too hard and too long to then just jump back on here and be dumbified and act a fool and, you know, go based on pushed agendas and stereotypes and stigmas and clickbaits and all that. And that's another thing. My prayer to divinity, what I choose to call the one, is I don't want to get on here and let this be the my throat wants to close up again, but let this be the source of my income. Because again, anything that feeds you, you know, yeah, can manipulate you, can force you. Oh, Ashe Oshun, I just saw her. Well, not her, but a bumblebee, which is for me a representative of Oshun. If you know, you know. But so Ashe, she's here. My ancestors are here. Divinity is here, right? It cannot not be if it lives within us, right? Well, a part of us, right? If I am the I am, with the I am, right? I am that I am. So, and you only recognize that when, well, I shouldn't say that. I recognize that when I began to be okay with, in this reflective passage, I was about to say, see, who I am, right? What I've sown, right? Because the seed has everything it contains to be all that it's supposed to be, whatever that seed is, right? Whether it's through the seed, of birthing a child, the seed of, everything reproduces after its own kind, the seed of the tree, whatever, right? Is going to produce, right? What it already has. And of course, external forces can sway it and cajole it, I heard. But no, not no. Authenticity is key for me. And understanding, thank you, confirmation, authenticity, then I can only do what I do. Kind of like the fingerprints. It's unique to you. You can only do what you do. No one else can do it like you. People can often imitate and try to duplicate, but they can never. They can never. And there's real power. And I think I just heard the forces that be want to suppress that. They don't want you, who you or the us or who they are, take it the way you want to take it. But that's intimidating. Right? When you're not just another cog in the wheel, when you're not just another walking zombie, when you actually critically think, right? Seven of Pentacles, that's critical thinking. That's true reflection and assessment, right? Of where I've been, what I've done, what I've planted thus far on this journey, right? And not to beat myself up, not to boast myself up, but to have a realistic assessment, right? One that is without these biases and this fakeness and this facade, to then come to a conclusion on, because it's at the 7 right here, right? Oh, beautiful number 7. Because then comes 8, we're speeding up. Are we about to speed up and go in the right direction? Or it's not about even right or wrong, in the direction that we are choosing to go, right? Because we all, I don't care who you are, have a purpose and a place, right? If you're here, you're meant to be here, right? So, yeah, wow, the 7 of Pentacles, right? And one of the things, and before I went into all of that, what I was trying to say and bringing it back to my experience is, at 51 years old, when I just began to look back over my life and think things over, as the great gospel song would say, I saw finally all I have done, right? The work I've put in, right? The communities I've helped, the people I've touched, the legacy that I have built thus far. One of my cries and prayers, because that's what I believe in prayer. I believe, bombarding, prayer. What people may coin, just to put a label on it. So for context, prayer warrior. I want to leave a legacy. And what I've been shown, that, it's not something that happens when you die. It's something that we're all along creating, right? Through the choices that we're making. And other variables. And when I looked over it, right, if we want to write it in terms of technical paper, in terms of like an actual, the Social Security Administration could look it up in terms of my tax ID number and my Social Security number, on books, coming into 2026, I've been doing work in the human services field for 30 years. On paper, right? The quote unquote paper. In reality, I've been doing social work and human services as long back as I can remember, about the age of 5. So that would technically be, and I'm getting emotional, but about 46 years of my life. And that's not to say that I am declaring this is where it ends for me or I stop. However, I'm acknowledging that this, and then I heard this wheel, this mouse wheel, where I think I need to keep chasing and going and proving and validating, seeking external validation as well. People pleasing, just doing for others, for me, has ceased. It's finito, you know. Yeah, I don't know where that came. Maybe when my Italian is finito Italian. I don't know. Is that stereotypical? Am I being? I apologize, but yeah. I just heard the dawn. You know, I don't want to do the whole thing with the carton. I'm seeing Vivica Fox in the scene with and set it off, right? But yeah, it's done. You know what I mean? Done. I no longer want to play those games. It's not for me. It never was. It's not for any of us, I believe. But you know, I just heard don't believe the hype. don't. That's what Flavor Flav. Now here's what I want y'all to do for me. Yeah, don't believe the hype, right? And there is this sense of hype that is I'm hearing an optical illusion. And now I'm seeing the American flag waving, and it's not to pick on America or the U. I mean, I'm here, and I want to travel, but I am very clear that there are some freedoms and some things, you know, that I am experiencing here. So it's not no trying to throw shade on it, saying, you know, what I'm hearing is I'm not trying to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but the bathwater dirty. It has very much turned into a cesspool, and shit needs to change. And you know, I just heard Greenwich. We should have stopped them at Greenwich, and that's another quote from Godfather. So there's some Godfather-ish happening here. Right? Some ancestors, definitely some Italian mobsters or something. Gangsters, they say. Gangsters, don't call us mobsters. We ain't mob nothing. Okay, coming through, yeah. And that's talking about Hitler. And the reason why I think I was just given that quote was that was the regret, I think, of the United Nations saying we should have stopped them there and could have avoided that catastrophe of what happened to our to the people who identify themselves as Jewish, you know, and the catastrophes and the atrocities that happened to them. But the good thing, like anything good, could have come from that. Please take that, you know that I mean that in, like, with no disrespect. What I wanted to say, accountability is important. And one thing that Germany did do that was good was that they held themselves accountable for the atrocities of their leader, because he was their leader, Hitler. And even though the people who took accountability were not a part of what Hitler did, they still felt the responsibility and felt that it was only right to assume account. It was on, like, I don't know, I just heard the blood cries out from the ground, right? And they knew that it was imperative in order to, I'm hearing like it, to cleanse themselves of such atrocities. And what did they do? They built monuments all over Germany, rectify them so that I just heard, lest we forget, right? That they would never forget and never commit such atrocities again, never repeat such atrocities again, right? It was disgusting. It was horrific. It was genocide. It was just horrible. Whatever horrible word, I can't get it out right now, that has been done, that was done, right? And not only did they then create these memorials to remember so that they don't repeat it, but then they also paid reparations. And that is one thing, and I don't know, I didn't come on here to talk about politics. It's not about, see, that's what I'm saying, ain't nobody fucking politicking. It's about righting wrongs. And if you killed and enslaved and murdered and genocide and brutalized a people, and history proves it, you know, I mean, that's why we have courts. If there wasn't if we didn't believe in checks and balances, then what are the justice scales about? Why would we even have a court system where people are innocent to proven guilty? America has been guilty of doing that to peoples of African descent and other and to a whole diaspora, right? An African diaspora that they then enslaved, and the peoples are still feeling the reverberations of that to this day. Hello, I know. And, you know, I'm hearing post-traumatic stress disorder. The key word in that is post. But how can fucking something be post if you're still in it? See, with Germany, it was post because it ended. Hitler gone. They said we ain't doing this ish no more. That regime doesn't exist anymore. And I'm not saying that in Germany they don't have their problems or racism. I don't know nothing about that. I ain't got nothing to say. But there is a start when you begin to, one, hold accountability, B, hold it up to your face so you never forget again, and then C, pay them back. I just have, pay me what you owe me. Bitch better have my money. But Rihanna, right? You pay back what you owe. Because don't get it twisted, my Jewish brothers and sisters. You know, that's another thing. Like, and I just heard, don't believe the hype. Don't think you suchy much because you did it on your own, or, you know, or I just heard, don't use God that way. It did come as a result of people acknowledging their wrong, assuming accountability and responsibility for it, and then paying restitution, restoring what was taken, right? And look, that we can see firsthand the benefit of such a thing, right? I mean, look how financially, educationally, as a people, they have been able to rebuild. Confirmation. And this is not no anti-Semitism. So if you be saying, click off. I ain't got time for the bullshit. Because I'm not trying to be anti-nobody. I want to be pro-humanity. Right? It's sad we even got to talk ethnicities and races and colors and categories. But that's not a system I fucking created. I didn't build this. I didn't build this world. I didn't create this world. I was put in it. That's Tupac, right? I didn't build this shit. You know what I mean? I was just born in 1974. This shit happened way before me, and it's still happening. So, but what I am clear about is that I want to be pro-humanity, right? And not just pro-life. And what do I mean? Not in terms of the way the politicians, again, this isn't politicking, meaning if you have breath, you have certain inalienable rights, man. Certain just basic needs and rights that should just be free and common for all. Why this turned into, they said, don't do that again. Just be obedient. You're right. So, again, now I'm seeing the baby in the bathtub with the Lincoln hat, but with the American flag draped over it, like, you know, around it. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but the bathwater gotta effing go. It's toxic. It's toxic. It's dirty. You know, it'll come out in the wash, bring it out in the wash, something. I don't know what that term is, but they're saying that. Oh, it'll come out in the wash. Yeah, the stuff is coming out, right? So, you know, now I'm seeing my mom scrubbing, you know, back in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, scrubbing our clothes in the bathtub, right? But as she was washing it, right, the dirt would come out, right? It'll come out. But she didn't keep that water and then do the next load in it. You know, that water got drained out and the tub got cleaned out, and then for the next set of clothes, you know, that were needing to be And we're refusing to do that here in America, right? Not for long. I just heard, I don't know what that means, but not for long, right? It's inevitable. It's like a ball that's been held down too long. It's going to bubble up and surface. It cannot be suppressed but for so long. Back to authenticity, that's what I'm saying. So it requires authenticity. So ring the alarm. Yeah, I'll be damned if I see another chick in your arm. Yeah, the sirens, ring the alarm. Yeah. I don't know. Now I'm hearing like the sirens from like the bombings. You know how in countries when they would bomb, they would ring the sirens and the kids would have to run to bunkers. Or I'm hearing the schoolhouse kids. Just heard Schoolhouse Rock. That was a show here I used to watch as a child. Educational show. So back to that authenticity, right? So this person is reflecting on what they've created so far and in which direction they want to go. And I don't know, this camera might cut off after this because I don't have a lot of storage space on there. So that's since there's not a lot of talk. There's not a lot of room for talk, you know, and that's crazy because I'm hearing something like, you know, that's what we used to say back on the school ground. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna do a whole lot of rapping. There ain't gonna be a whole lot of talking. You know what I mean? And then I heard, don't talk about it, be about it, right? There's this sense, this call, this urgency. Wow, and that just pulled out. So what fell out, what I shuffled out was this, which is, I didn't even look at it. The 10 of Pentacles. Wow. So we went from the 7 to the 10. And then what fell out sideways like this was the 8 of Pentacles. That's interesting. I got so much to thank God for. So many wonderful blessings and so many open doors. That's a gospel song. For every mountain you brought me over. For every mountain. And I'm sorry I can't sing it, but it's in here. It's you brought me over. For every trial you've seen me through. For every blessing, hallelujah. For this I'll give you praise. And you see how it says, for every mountain you brought me over? It's not you removed the mountain. The mountain you brought me over, right? And that's like, again, don't believe the hype. Don't get okey-doked, right? Because other peoples might see you and think, well, you can't be blessed, you can't be chosen because you're still going up the mountainside and we're on the other side, or we're not going through that. Don't get it twisted. I'm here. Don't get confused. You know, there's value to the mountain. There's value, you know, on scaling that mountain. You build strength, you build character, you build integrity, you know. And if you don't, you crumble and you fall and you get pushed out to the, you take yourself out to the wayside, right? There does take a certain amount of, I'm hearing, strength, character, integrity, and humbleness, right? I just heard meekness, but not in a weak way. And that's another thing. People take the kindness and the meekness and they see it as a weakness. And some pounce on it, some gloss over it, some even laugh at it. But I just heard, do not be deceived. God is not mocked, you know. And now I heard the reason why the 8 of Pentacles. Because it's interesting, because I said right after the 7 is the 8, which is usually like real fast energy. Because I was thinking about like the Chariot. But an 8 did come out. And the reason why it came out sideways on top of like both the 7 to the 10. Now I'm seeing it like this. Thank you, Spirit. As a bridge, right? And it's acknowledging that you put in the work, dog. I just heard you did the work. You did the math, and you made the math while other people, and I don't know what's this comparison. I don't know. Or maybe that is the comparison. Like, so I'm hearing, don't have survivor's guilt when this 10 of Pentacles come in for you. Don't let them, I just heard, change your mind. And I'm being taken to a scripture I read yesterday when I was reading about Elizabeth and Mary, when Mary went to go visit Elizabeth. But I went back the previous chapter, right? Because there's something about context, right? Those scripture, you know, you have to read, right? The context. And in the context, I went back to get more context. When Elizabeth was being told, or no, it was after, when she gave birth to who the Bible calls, the Christian canon calls John the Baptist, went to name him John. The people got like were in her ear like, well, why? We don't have people named John in our family. Like, they expected, and they were trying to convince her to name him one of the typical, I guess, rabbinical names of that time. And she put her foot down. She said, no, his name is going to be John. I didn't read the whole thing because I was in and out of sleep that's just my process. But that's when I woke up. That's the line I read. And I had a note over my Bible notes where I said, they tried to change your mind. They said, don't let them change your mind, right? So there's something about that. Don't let the peoples change your mind about this, right? When you get into this 10 of Pentacles, you put in the work. You did it. They're going to think that you skipped from the 7 to the 10. But they didn't see in the background that you was always doing this, right? You was putting in the work, whether it was, if you want to refer to one of my favorites, Carl Jung. I always mispronounce his name. All respect. Ashe, brother. Thank you for your contributions. But when he talks about shadow work, right? So whether it's that internal work, and I'm hearing it's both. You've done the internal processes that were needed to be done to renewing of the mind, right? To break down certain stereotypes, certain belief systems that you've held that were scrubbed into you. I'm hearing from birth, literally, and through epigenetics, right? 3 generations back, DNA, gut, as well as, certainly I'm hearing nature versus nurture is both, right? So you've done both the internal work as well as the external work that is giving you this 10 of Pentacles. And it wasn't given to you. You worked for it. That's what they're saying. And just because others couldn't see it, and all they're going to see is that you jump to this 10, again, do not have the survivor's guilt. And right, and that's survivor's guilt for any peoples, right? We was just talking about our Jewish brothers and sisters. I'm sure they've had to confront some of that, and any other peoples who've have found themselves having to, quote unquote, leave behind, whether it's family, friends, communities, in their pursuit of their own authenticity and trying to, I heard, create a legacy, right? Now I'm hearing, to explain that a little bit, crab in the barrel syndrome, right? Because if you stay in the barrel with the rest of the crabs, then all y'all doing is pulling each other down. Some people have to get out, and I'm not talking about white flight. I'm not talking about, I got out the hood, so F the hood now. No, because whenever you see people who thrived, is because when they thrived, they went back. My throat wants to lock up, and gave a helping hand. Right? But that's the thing I'm hearing Spirit saying. You have to do the work that is necessary so that you become strong enough and strength in the sense of authentic enough, comfortable enough with your authenticity, to the point where you reach integration, which is wholeness, full acceptance of yourself and your divinity. And when you're able to do that, then your divinity, kind of like what we say with namaste, is then able to see the divinity in everybody else, in another, and then the work can commence, right? Yeah, to help others grow and flourish. And then that was what's so key about that Mary and Elizabeth story. I was taken back to Mary and Elizabeth. Literally, I was at the gym, and me and she was a younger woman. She's in her 40s. And our spirits connected, just to say that. And when after we had our little maybe 5-minute conversation, as I walked out to go on the gym floor, something told me go back and tell her, because right before I left, I said, what's your name? She said Elizabeth, and then my name is Marilyn. So then when I went out, I heard Mary and Elizabeth, and I was reminded of how that Mary did go visit Elizabeth when she was pregnant with Jesus, Yeshua, Isa alayhi salam, depending on who you know how you want to say it. But so I went back to her. I said, there's something significant in the story of Mary and Elizabeth. Read it. And I thought it was for her. And it wasn't until a day later God said, no, that was also for you. So that's what I've been, finally last night I went to go read it. And it was significant because when Mary greeted Elizabeth, she said John the Baptist, her baby, who at that time, I think Elizabeth was already 6 months pregnant, leaped when he heard Mary's voice. And I heard clearly, you are ready to meet the Elizabeth. So what that meant for me was people of like-mindedness, people of purpose coming together, of similar purpose coming together. So that doesn't mean, all spiritual, but, if you're an actor, if you're a hair stylist, whatever the purpose that you have, you're going to meet people and surround yourself with communities that are also filled with purpose. And it doesn't have to be the same, they don't have to be a hairstyle, but that you recognize, one, that authenticity, integrity, and character are key, that you cannot hate yourself or any part of yourself, because then that would not be full or whole integration, right? And that there's a greater purpose, right? That there is an individual purpose, but as well as a collective purpose, whether it's the collective of your family, your community, the world for you, whatever it is. But you're going to meet like-minded. You're going to, finally meet, because sometimes on the rough side of the mountain, because we're all so hurt people. But you're finally to a place where you've integrated whoever I'm speaking to where now you're going to find others that are fully integrated as well. And when I say fully, that's not to say that now you're healed, whole, and delivered, and you never know. This is not a linear thing, and it's not a end goal and all be all, right? This is a they said passage initially, and now journey. And now he's whining. So it's like wrapping this up. I think I said what I said, and I stand on it 10 toes down, right? This is who this message is for those individuals who not only have done the work to become, to understand and finally see who they are and whose they are, their sense of authenticity, their I am that I am, but also now carry the fire I'm hearing, because and I wanted to say wands, but this is all pentacles out here. So, and also when I hear pentacle, practical, right? Not just theoretical or spiritual woo-woo. No, the practical, the praxis, the everyday work. But you've also now built the confidence, the boldness to speak, right? I'm hearing throat chakras are opening up. As a result of heart chakras opening up, as a result of sacral root chakras being healed and delivered, right? Because that's what I'm hearing that authenticity does, right? It breaks away from the illusion, right? And the fantasy that we escape to, right? And I'm hearing now the poppy fields, right? They want to keep you hallucinating, right? But when you step into that reality, then you step into your authority, then you stand taller, you walk taller, you talk taller. I don't know, I'm short, so I don't know, maybe that's why the tallness. So was Hitler. And that short people complex shit is unnecessary. So, yeah, and I'm being told at the bottom of the deck, Two of Swords. Right, and normally, right, I see the Two of Swords as somebody undecided, flimming, flanging, and I'm hearing my throat wants to, yeah, there's some of that. So this is speaking to some of you who one leg in, one leg out. You know, you put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, right, and you shake it off. No, it's time to draw the line and decide on what side you. Listen, I'm just saying what I'm hearing, right? However, the reason why you're able to do that, or if you're still feeling a little shaky about it, because there is this in between, right, where we no longer can go to the past, don't know quite clear what the future is coming, and hence her blindfold, right? That's an internal journey I'm hearing. But for those who are ready, that's what you did. You did that internal journey, right? You sowed them seeds. You put in that work. And now, confirmation, I just burped. And you're ready for what this 10 of Pentacles, whatever that may be. And again, I just heard legacy, right? And that looks differently, right? It's not just about, oh, everybody who's understanding my voice now are going to, you know, have all this money. Even though I just heard the riches of the wicked shall be laid down for the just, right? We've seen that before. And I just heard again, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Right? So for those of you who need to, oh, I don't know why I just, oh yes, Two of Swords. Put on that blindfold. I just heard armor up, right? And that's what I see it now, armor up, right? And now I'm hearing that scripture where they say, it says, I put on the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of the gospel of peace, the helmet of salvation, right? The armor up. And again, you don't have to be Christian. It's not about that, right? These are examples. Again, as I said earlier, I'm a teacher at heart. And of course, for me, I am going to speak from that theological perspective, or I heard purview, because that is my background, right? I went to seminary, so I got my MDiv, a master's in divinity, primarily with studying the Bible, but I had the pleasure also of visiting Egypt, Cairo, Africa. And the Middle East is a misnomer. That's another story, a form of erasure. Now they're taking me back to Germany and putting up statues in the contrast what is trying to be done here in the U.S., where now they want to erase the monuments or any history text that talks about the atrocities of slavery to black people. Armor up. Put on a blindfold, because now she's looking like Lady Justice, Lady Liberty to me now, right? And I just heard no justice, no peace, right? And justice always is now, right? The time for justice is always now. And injustice somewhere, anywhere, is injustice everywhere. I think that was Dr. Martin Luther King. So yeah, there's something significant about that. And again, the line is being drawn. Whether you draw it or not, you think, you know, which side are you going, which line are you on, you know, where you going to stand at the end of the day. And then now I'm hearing that scripture from Revelation is, you know, I don't want you cold, and I don't want you, lukewarm either. I will spit you out of my mouth. It says spew you, right? It's time to decide if you haven't decided. And for those of you who have decided, you decided because you went within. You armored up and you went within. It's not an external validation journey, right? It's something that you had to do. This process is internal. It's from within, right? You made a decision for yourself, right? And then those who still aren't, right, that's what you need to do. And yeah, beloved, this is where I leave you. That's the message. And I wanted to say, I hope it came out. Listen, it resonates with whoever it needs to resonate at the time it needs to resonate with you. You know, that's the beautiful thing about messages, right? It hits us exactly when we need to and when we're ready for them, right? Yeah, beloved. Until next time. Ashe, Amen, and Ami.